Machiavelli gets up to beat 7C. Russet and behind that came the suit.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America, or the Handicappers Report / Racing Across America.
I was going to say, we have to change that now because we talked about it every single time. It's Racing Across America with Seth Merrow, but now there's Mike and Sully's sidekick mix. I don't know how we're going to intertwine it, but we got to figure it out, some nice little lingo to go with it.
Get our announcer to revamp
Seth Merrow and sidekick of some sort.
Yeah, I like that. Mike Callahan in here, obviously. Seth Merrow also on this day after the Black Susan, day of the Preakness. We get to see if in 3 weeks we have a Triple Crown opportunity. If Justify can do it this afternoon, we'll take a look at that entire Pimlico card for today. Also coming up a little bit later on, we're going to handicap early and then a little bit later on kick into more of a Racing Across America mode. I did an interview yesterday with John Service, talked a little bit about Diamond King. That'll be coming up later, and then top of the hour, Frank Vespi, our friend, covering Maryland racing and really the Mid-Atlantic circuit for his website, theracingbiz.com. Obviously at Pimlico yesterday, we'll get a recap from him of some of the stakes action there yesterday, and also a little update perhaps on the weather for today down at Pimlico. Mike, you were doing a little research before we went on. And
yeah, obviously the big question, we know it's going to be a sloppy surface on the main track, was, are we going to have turf racing? We thought that with the stakes races, they'd probably take off the allowance races beforehand, and they did. So races 2 and 4 are off the turf, if you wanted to note that. Races 5, 7, 9, and 11 look to be on for now. We'll see how the forecast kind of shapes up. Yeah, cross our fingers. But for now, races 5, 7, 9, 11 are still on the turf, so you can kind of handicap that.
I want to thank our friends at Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program, some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine, pick, bet, and cheer on great racing north of the border. We appreciate their sponsorship. I always like to start with some promos and events, and you're typically in the marketing department, so I'll let you take it away. But what time do the doors open here at the Racebook?
9:30. The doors are going to open today here at the Clubhouse Racebook at 9:30, so do note that. We're going to have, as you can see right there on the screen, the first 200 are going to get Preakness class. So once I get done from here, I'm going to go out there, set up for that. So stop by, be one of the first 200 and grab your Preakness class. Also, we're going to have the Betmobile at the City Line. It's always a fantastic spot. If you can't make it to the clubhouse or to one of our branches or Easy Bet locations, stop down to the club or stop down to the City Line. Terrific spot to bet. They're going to have wagering from about 11 to 8. So if you're looking for another spot,
and that guy will be there. That guy holding up his hands, he'll be there.
Yeah, hopefully. The weather kind of looks a little bleak around here too, so hopefully he kind of keeps the weather away here. But also want to note Rivers Casino, if you're down that way, I know it's a very popular spot on the weekends. Shannon Donovan from the marketing department. A lot of people know him. Shannon's going to be down there all day. He'll be down there. Again, you can bet there. We have a new branch there as well. So it's been a terrific spot so far. If you go down there, kind of play some casino games. If the wife, she wants to play the slots, go on down there and bet the entire Preakness card today.
Don't be sexist. Maybe the husband wants slots and the wife wants the horse racing.
I've been brainwashed by so many people who have said, when are you going to get a branch in the casino? When are you going to get a branch in the casino? And they would always kind of, say and elaborate from there that, their wives like to play the slots. But that's true. And I've played the slots before. A lot of people do. So
I haven't been down to the casino yet, but now I have a good excuse to get down there and visit the new branch, certainly. Let's just quickly, before we get to today, touch on the Black Eyed Susan yesterday, because our friend Roddy Valente, obviously, congratulations to the team. Coach Rocks, Roddy and family, West Point, Rick Pitino, Dale Romans. I thought it was a bang-up second from Coach Rocks.
I thought she was
top of the stretch.
great.
I thought it was going to be a ding-dong battle, and one or the other would pull away. Red Ruby was sitting right off
They were
of her.
clearly the two best horses
Yeah.
that day. Red Ruby, terrific performance to win the race, but Coach Rocks really took all the pressure the entire way. And when it kind of got aggressive around the far turn, really tried to put in a nice run, was clear from third. The race dynamics kind of were changed when
Very
Coach
much,
Rocks
yeah.
went to the lead and Good One Honey completely missed the break. That horse was supposed to go to the lead, was one of those local horses that was taking a lot of buzz, took a lot of money early, but nonetheless, a lot of people around here rooting for Coach Rocks. She ran a terrific race, and she'll probably point towards Saratoga, hopefully.
Yeah, the disappointment. Well, a couple of disappointments. I put Sarah Street on top. I just never had really a good feeling about her. I mean, earlier she was sitting, I guess, in a good position, but as the real running began, I didn't kind of get a feel that she was going to make any kind of a big move. She winds up fourth as the 2-5 favorite, and as you say, Good One Honey, who I liked and thought had a legitimate chance. Talked to the trainer yesterday, Jason Egan, interviewed him a couple of days ago and replayed it yesterday. It was a fun interview. Just not only talked about the horse, but also just got to know him a little bit, because there may be somebody who's floating a little bit under the radar, but could be on the come as a trainer. But you mentioned it. Boy, when the betting opened,
She took all the money.
Wow.
Again, those local horses on this weekend, if you're on that, that's why it's such, it's a great thing that you have Frank Vespi, who kind of predominantly covers that area. There are going to be some horses locally that are going to run well today, that did yesterday. That horse was a bus horse going into it off of that dominant performance, going and stretching out 2 turns, but she missed the break. She still ended up running a pretty credible race.
It wasn't so much missed the break as she got in the accordion.
And
then she was a little slow on the break, and that allowed the 2 horses to kind of
to come over and kind of squeeze her out. And that's kind of something that Bob Baffert always alludes to. You have to, because everybody's been talking about, Justify, if he doesn't break well, is he going to get squeezed, all that stuff. But that's point, kind of the reason why the break is so important, especially if you want the lead.
Yeah, she wound up the 4th choice, actually, but close. It was, what do we have? 5-2, 5-2, 3-1,
The top 4 choices,
3-1.
yeah. The top 4 choices ran 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, like you said, Sarah Street was a horse I really liked.
1, 2, 4, 5. The Indy Union was the 5th choice.
Okay.
Yeah, who squeezed in for the try.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. Sarah Street was a horse that I liked too going into it. She ran really well down at Aqueduct when Sully and I were down there that day. But when My Miss Lily didn't run really well, because she came out of that same race with her, didn't run well in the Kentucky Oaks, it kind of made me question how good of a race that really was.
Yeah. So again, congratulations to Roddy and family. Good performance by Coach Rocks, but Red Ruby, who pulled into my, I've been talking now for 3 or 4 weeks, and I talk every year at this time, the Oaklawn horses, and I probably should have put Red Ruby a little further up than I did on just the Oaklawn move, but nice performance by Red Ruby, as you say. They were the 2 best. She was clearly, Red Ruby clearly ahead of the 2nd place finisher, Coach Rocks. Coach Rocks clearly ahead of the 3rd place finisher, so they kind of stood out and took it all the way around. All right, let's start looking at the Saturday card at Pimlico. Again, 2 and 4 are off the turf. We'll keep our fingers that the weather holds up and maybe improves during the day. We'll get an update. As they say, Frank Vespi's down there. We'll talk to him a little bit later on. But let's kick things off. Race number 1 at Pimlico on Saturday afternoon. Saturday morning. What am I talking about? On the big days, there is no more starting in the afternoon. 10:30 post time at Pimlico today.
14 on the card.
Race 1 is an allowance, non-winners of 1 other than 6 furlongs. What did you think in the
I'm
opener?
going to use that locally based angle here and go 7, 1, and 4 here in the first. I like Hill Shadow, a locally based horse with Xavier Perez board. 9-2 in the morning. This horse is bet in the money, 8 of 9 starts, only 1 win, so that's sort of the negative going into this. But this horse loves a muddy surface, actually has a win over the Pimlico Mud last year on May 19th. I think this horse is going to sit just off of the speed in here. And I think if Autostrade, the horse that's going to take predominantly the most money in here, the number 1 horse, going out for good connections to Todd Pletcher, if this horse doesn't like to slop, I think Hill Shadow, the locally based horse, can get it done at 9-2. Underneath, Autostrade, who looks to be the most logical horse in here at 6-5. Last time out, finished second to a nice Wesley Ward horse. To me, it's going to be tough to beat in here. If he likes, he's going to have the rail in here is going to get some early position, probably sit just off of the speed, most likely winner in here, but I'm going to take a shot with the 7, and then for the 3rd spot, I went with number 4, Flash Attack, who's been in really good form, winning in non-winners at 2 and 3 lifetime event down at Tampa Bay. Last time out, faced One Other Than Allowance Company. Finished second, only beating a neck. Again, a horse that's in really good form. If this horse likes the slop, could be another contender in here. So I saw it 7, 1, and 4.
Yeah, I have the same 3, just in different order. I put the Pletcher horse on top. The first 2 looked pretty good and validated the Gulfstream form away from Gulfstream with the Keeneland start. It just missed there, as you say, behind a nice Wesley Ward runner. Flash Attack coming up off 3 nice races at Tampa, and then Keeneland attracted my attention underneath. But I do agree, Hill Shadow is interesting on A, the local form, and B, the last race was on a muddy track, so it has some decent off-track form as well. So for me, it was 1, 4, 7, and 2.
All right, the Pimlico second was scheduled for a mile and 16th on the turf. It's now going to be scheduled on the dirt. It's a nice One Other Than Allowance race. What do you think in the second?
On the dirt, I have it 4, 2, 10, and 7. I put Contrarian on top. This is a horse that in 4 career starts has been on the dirt in all 4 of them. The numbers on the dirt are okay. The 2 Tampa starts look pretty good. Little bullet workout over at Fairhill on their synthetic track. But again, this horse has nice dirt experience. So the Arnaud Delacour trainee, Contrarian on top on the dirt. We went to the MTO, Bring Me the Answers in the second spot. Gets the surface they were looking for. And then in the third spot, I went out to number 10, yet another MTO entrant. Tried the turf last time and ran okay, but the races before that, number-wise, stack up pretty well with this group as far as dirt races, and you go 4 back, a nice win on a muddy track as well. So in the Pimlico second, 4, 2, 10, and 7.
I went 3, 10, 11, and 7 here. I went with the 3 going out. A nice Michael Matz horse. Blinker's going to go on for this horse, who really hasn't done much running in the last 2 events, but it's been, again, so much better. Go Google yourself. And also Geo Game, who came back to win at Churchill Downs a couple weeks ago. I think if this horse reverts back to that Keeneland race where it's at just off of the speed, got a nice 63 buyer, won that race very impressively at Keeneland. I think this horse can make some noise here in the slop underneath the 10. One of those MTOs. Been in the money 11 of 17 times, did have a nice win in a restricted allowance race at Laurel Park over a muddy surface, so this horse does like the slop. We'll see if the horse can get it done. And then also the 11, Claire's Dowry, a horse that's coming off the back-to-back victories on the turf, but has some good form on the dirt, including 7 for 15 in the money lifetime. So we'll see what happens here in this off-the-turf event. I saw it 3, 10, and 11.
Pimlico's third race on Saturday afternoon. Optional claimer, non-winners of 2 other than in the third. They're scheduled to go 6 furlongs.
6, 7, 8 for me here in the third. I like Happy Farm, a horse that won very impressively last time at Laurel Park over a muddy surface. So again, when you're doing a lot of your handicapping today, you have to figure out who really relishes the mud. Some horses love it, some horses don't. This horse has been winner of 3 of the last 4. Really the only blemish was at Churchill and a 2 other than high optional claimer. That was a $100,000 purse against uncontested. If you throw out that race, this horse should be forwardly placed. Got a nice 86 buyer, and there does seem to be a lot of speed in here. The 1, 2, 5, and 6 should potentially go in here. I think the 6 will be sitting just off of that. Get first jump on the closers. Had Happy Farm on top at 7-2. Underneath the 2 logicals, Forge, a horse that's looking for 3 in a row. Ran an enormous buyer 2 back out of 104. Regressed a little bit off of that freshening last time out, but still got the job done. Sort of an interesting aspect for this horse is whether he's going to be off the pace or on. If for some reason he goes and tries to get the lead, I'm not sure if that's the best scenario. I think Forge probably sit off, probably make him more of a candidate to win, have him in the second spot, and then number 8, Pop Keenan, a horse that won last time out as well. So this is a really good race. Horses coming in with really good form. I think this horse off that 93 buyer last time out in that One Other Than Allowance race at Parks looks good. And the workouts have been quite sharp. So I saw it 6, 7, 8. What do you think?
Again, I have the same horses, just slightly different. I went 7, 6, 8, and 3. I put Forge on top, Michael Dubb, Rudy Rodriguez. The 104 2-back jumped out. And the number did regress and pretty significantly last time. Went down better part of 20 points, but the horse won by 2 as a 2 to 5 favorite. So, you know, how fast does he want to run in a race?
I mean, you had to believe in a 104 buyer that the bounce theory was going to be in play, but like you said, it's still a victory, so he did what he had to do.
Yeah, and you know, wins by daylight at 2 to 5, so I'm not really holding that against him necessarily. Happy Farm in the second spot, as you say, out the muddy victory at Laurel. And Pop Keenan, I wasn't sure what to do with him. And again, I have an interview with John Service coming up a little later on. I didn't ask him about undercard horses. I probably should have asked him a little bit about this, see what he thought of the number last time, because this one on a wet, fast surface at Parks last time fired a big number and overall has a great record. But it's at Parks, and I'm never quite sure what to make of the Parks runners when they move to other venues. But I think this horse is probably going to be legitimate and contend this afternoon. In the third of Pimlico, 7, 6, 8, and 3.
The Pimlico fourth is a 2 other than optional claimer. Was scheduled for 5 furlongs on the turf. It's actually going to be washed off. It's the other race that's going to be washed off. Again, 5, 7, 9, and 11 are scheduled still to be on the turf. But this race, I went 5, 6, 3, and 11 on the dirt. I went number 5, Square Shooter, a horse that last time did have a nice second place performance on the turf, but also has some good dirt form. Did win the first 2 career starts on the dirt at Parks. Has been facing some good quality horses in El Arib and also Storming My Way. Nice second place performance down at Gulfstream Park. I think should sit just off of the speed in here and try to get the job done. 4-1 on the morning line. Underneath the 6 horse at big odds, that's Big Bella Brown. Last time won an optional claimer at Laurel over a muddy surface. The horse is 3 for 4 victories-wise on a wet surface. So note that this horse loves the slop. The only blemish was a nice third-place performance. If you're looking for a horse at big odds, go with number 6, Big Bella Brown, and then also the 3, Mai Tai One On. Back-to-back victories, both being on the turf, but also has decent dirt form as well. Ran a nice second-place performance back in May of 2017 on a good surface at Park. So, again, in these situations where they're washed off, we'll see who actually goes in this race, but I saw it 5, 6, and 3.
I have it 7, 5, 3, and 8, but I will mention your number 6. I was in doing OTB Live the last couple of days, but 2 days ago, there were a couple of horses. Pretty much every place I looked at on Thursday was off-going, and there were a couple of horses during the afternoon that, again, you have to look at that wet track record, and sometimes you look at that and there's good wet track form, and you look up and the horse is 15-1 because in these off-the-turf events or just even a regular race that was scheduled for the main track, there may be darkened form until you look at that wet track record, and it kind of then jumps out.
Right, some horses really just wake up. They have no form whatsoever and wake up on there. And I feel like sometimes people read the form the same way, knowing that the race is kind of completely changed.
Yeah. And again, there were a couple of them on Thursday that came in at decent little prices. So make sure you do look at that. And as I say, I did not use Big Bella Brown, but it's a good call on the 3 for 4 on the wet track experience. So worth certainly taking an extra look at. I'm not sure the 20-1 morning line will hold up because this horse has only raced on the dirt. And I think the 20-1 was based on the turf.
Correct.
But I do think comparing the buyer figures, I think there'll be some value there.
Right. I think when I say big odds, I think probably 8-1, maybe
exactly.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So
again, for me, 7, 5, 3, and 8. I put Warley on top. This is a horse that throughout the career has raced mainly on the dirt and has some pretty good numbers, including a nice win with a solid number last time at Mountaineer. Square Shooter tried the turf last time and ran well, but has been mostly on the dirt and also has fired competitive numbers as compared to this group. And Mai Tai One On, the number 3 horse, but on the turf most recently, but there are some okay dirt races underneath as well, including one second place finish on an off track. So in the 4th at Pimlico, 7, 5, 3, and 8. All right, 5th race at Pimlico. It is the Murphy, the James W. Murphy, $100,000 for 3-year-olds going a mile on the grass. Your thoughts on the Murphy?
6, 4, 9, and 3 for me. I like the number 6, Say the Word. Very impressive at Keeneland, going that mile and 3:16 distance. I know it was against Maiden, but was so much better than those horses that day. Won that race by 4 3/4. Graham Motion very aggressive out of that maiden special weight to put this horse in this stakes race. I think on the cutback it should actually help this horse, so don't worry about the cutback in distance. I think this horse is in very good form. I think Graham Motion is very high, and I'm not sure if we're going to get 5-2, probably somewhere around that 9-5 range, but I think is a very likely winner in this spot. Number 4 in the second spot, Black Stetson, a horse that showed speed last time and was able to wire him in a stakes race at Aqueduct, beating Colton, Mississippi, who's going to take some money in here as well. The real question mark for this horse is stretching out to 2 turns. Is this horse going to be able to carry that speed? I think so. I think there doesn't seem to be an abundance of speed to go with this horse. If this horse, the only question is going to like, off-going on a turf course, yielding, soft type course. We'll see, but nonetheless, the speed is very dangerous in this spot, and at 92 looks to be a logical contender. And then the number 9, Colton, Mississippi, a horse that had been running against the likes of some really nice horses, Bell Harbor, 7 Trumpets, all those horses in the 3-year-old trail as well. Switched to the turf last time and looked very good. Closed to finish 3rd, beating a half length to Black Stetson, but I think on the stretch out, this horse has already shown can get the distance. This horse might be pretty good on the turf. We'll see today. I saw it 6, 4, and 9.
Yeah, in fact, I like Colton, Mississippi, and the Chicklets that were there earlier, I think I sent in the wrong number. I have it 9, 4, 6, and 3. So that should be the 9 on top, Colton, Mississippi. As you say, tried the turf last time in the Bridgetown, a little turf sprint at Aqueduct, finished 3rd behind Black Stetson, but a close up 3rd. And I just think we'll benefit from that experience on the turf and has the potential to move forward for Johnny Velasquez and Todd Pletcher. Black Stetson, who again finished ahead of my top pick last time, has to be put in the mix because that was the turf debut for this horse as well. Showed a lot of speed, but I think there's a question mark on the 2 turns this afternoon, and then Say the Word in the 3rd spot. Grand Motion, Jose Ortiz. 2 turns at Keeneland last time, a nice win to break the maiden. I think should be primed to go well this afternoon. These 3 kind of stand out to me in this race. In the Pimlico 5th, the James Murphy have it 9, 4, 6, and 3. That'll lead us to our first break. When we come back, we'll continue our look at Pimlico for Saturday afternoon. It's Preakness Day. Stay tuned.
Dirty windows? Don't do it yourself. Call Clean Image, your window cleaning professionals, and enhance the look of your business or home without the worry. Clean Image pledges nothing less than 100% customer satisfaction. It's guaranteed. Homes, offices, bed and breakfast, vacation homes, and more. Clean Image has cleaned them all. Carpet and floor cleaning, pressure washing, and janitorial services are also available. Call today, 446-1397. That's 446-1397. Online at clean-image.net.
You know and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots. In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Mike Callahan alongside me, Seth Merrow, as we are up to race number 6 on Preakness Day. It's a one other than allowance race, mile and 16th. And what do you think here in the 6th?
It's also Royal Wedding Day, and yes, I got sucked in. I had no interest in that whatsoever.
There's a lot of buzz going on Twitter and Facebook and all social media. I was looking at Preakness stuff, and I just kept seeing Royal Wedding, Royal Wedding, Royal Wedding.
Like I say, to me, that's news. And then the whole thing about her father, it's like, yeah. But I get up, and so I've totally written that off. I get up, get ready to go in the shower. I turn on the TV. You couldn't get away from it.
Oh, no, absolutely. We were actually talking about it before we went on the show, and we were talking with Danny, who's behind part of the team, and he was saying thousands and thousands of people are literally standing outside. I'm not sure if you can see it. I wonder if there's like a Titantron or like something that you can see out there. But it's quite interesting.
I'm curious,
I mean, they were very serious about it over there.
The Queen's a big horse racing fan, so I was going to say at the reception, I think that'll probably be over by 8 hours from now or whatever, but I'm wondering if the Queen would be at her cell phone kind of checking the Preakness maybe, because she owns some horses. She's a big horse racing fan, so that'd be great. They can catch a picture of that. Or
convince her to bet with Capital TV.
The Queen. We have the Queen as a customer. All right, the 6th of Pimlico, 7-10, 6-1. Uncle Mojo on top for Todd Pletcher. One career win, broke the maiden 4 starts back, but has been kind of knocking at the door, and I thought the seasonal debut at Keeneland was good enough to think this horse can bounce into a good position this afternoon. In the second slot, went with Deal Driven. Won at Mountaineer last time. Never quite sure what to make of those numbers, but has a comparable number at Laurel a few starts back. So we'll put this one in with some nice early speed from the outside. And then Belfour in the third spot comes in with a couple of wins leading into this, so wants to continue the win streak potentially today. I thought the numbers as compared to the other two were maybe a little bit light, but probably a contender as well. 6 to Pimlico, 7-10, 6-1.
I'm right with you. I think Uncle Mojo looks good. But I did put out as a note up right here, I think that the race could potentially fall apart. The 1, 6, 7, and 10 I think are going to go. I don't think Uncle Mojo is going to be as close as people are going to see based on his lines here, but nonetheless, he looks to be the class of the field. Lost a big dollar bill last time, a horse that I'm huge on, and is a stakes quality horse as well. Uncle Mojo 6 to 5 looks likely. Underneath, though, the 3 Beau Vac, a horse that's 2 for 2 over a wet surface. Another locally based horse, did have a win at Laurel over the slop and an optional claimer. The last one was pretty decent at Laurel as well. One other than allowance race, finished third, closing from off the pace. And again, I think this race is going to fall apart. Had to use a couple closers. Also a little bit of a bomb, the 9 Heat Dome, a horse that's been in the money 7 of 9 starts, albeit has been at Penn National in Parks, and again, you touched upon it. You're not really sure how to equate that to the real tracks, but again, it's been, the bigger tracks, yeah. But nonetheless, second place performance, 2 back, and last time out, a nice third place performance. But as a bomb, I think this race could potentially fall apart. I saw it 7, 3, and 9.
Hopefully the Penn National people aren't watching this morning.
That's.
But I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I didn't mean it as it was intended.
Yeah, 7th race at Pimlico today. Stakes action in the Dixie Grade 2 event for 3-year-olds and up on the grass, a mile and 16.
174 for me. Again, this race centers around World Approval, 1-to-1 on the morning line. Needs no introduction. Last time out, though, was a little bit of a head scratcher in that Fred Kilroy event. Finished 5th. Really was just flat. It was so good back in 2017. You figured had to regress in 2018. Did have that nice victory in the Grade 3 Tampa Bay stakes down there. But again, I couldn't put on top at such a short price. Is the defending champion in this race and does like an off going on the turf course, so we'll see. But I went with Fire Away, a horse that's just been good time and time again. Does have to make up a couple lengths. Did lose last time by 4 lengths to World Approval, but the most recent race was very good. You got a nice 102 buyer, beat a nice couple horses and projected in Motown. So we'll see if this horse can kind of turn the tides on World Approval. And then in the third spot, Frostmore, 9-2 on the morning line. Nice victory, 2 back and an optional claimer. Again, this horse has just been so spotty for Christophe Clement. I'm not really sure how to figure it out, but did have that nice race against Yoshida, and Yoshida came back to have a nice performance on the undercard of Kentucky Derby Day. So we'll see how this horse fits in here. I saw it 1, 7, and 4.
Yeah, same horses, 7, 1, 8, and 4. But I put World Approval on top. But I'm not going to argue with anybody taking a shot against, because off of that last race, you just don't know what you're going to get. But it seems like an aberration, and certainly if World Approval comes back with a rebound effort, top of the stretch, if you took the shot against, you're going to kind of kick yourself a little bit. But certainly, in horizontals and things, I think you have to toss a couple others in, because World Approval, even money on the morning line and on that record, is going to take all the money. But I'm agreeing. I think Fire Away for Shug comes in off a nice effort last time and just seems to be primed and ready to run another good one. Divisadero on a big effort, I think, can certainly be in the mix. Steady string of Grade 1s underneath. This is the seasonal debut, but again, a long line of triple-digit buyer figures say that one figures, and I agree also Frostmore, who I have down in the 4th spot, but seems moving in the right direction and capable of being a contender in here as well. I put World Approval on top, but this is the race that will answer the question mark out of the last race at Santa Anita. 7th at Pimlico, 7, 1, 8, and 4.
All right, the Pimlico 8th is a $200,000 stakes. It's the Chick Lang going 6 furlongs on the dirt. And how'd you see it?
I thought my top 3 were the ones that you had to go through. I'm not sure, Matole. Matole. I'm not sure that horse is as invincible as the 3 to 5 indicates. I did put it on top, though, 5, 3, 7, and 1. But it's one of those where that Bachelor performance, and again, I like the horses coming out of Oaklawn, and Asmussen had a stakes winner yesterday. I'm just not sure that 107 is legit completely, because again, it's a little bit of a bounce up that I'm not arguing that it may be legitimate, may not. I'm just kind of saying I think today we'll get a better idea of whether that one is true. And if it is true, the race goes through this horse. But I'll be interested to see if the betting public is as convinced.
I'm not sure he can repeat that. The bounce
Yeah,
theory
and
the bounce theory is completely in play,
Yeah.
but it's how far does he regress to come back to it, because his numbers are so much better
yeah.
than the field. Someone has to actually get better, and he has to regress a ton to kind of even get close to being, a situation where
Yeah,
they're
you're
gonna be
right. You look
close.
at the numbers in the rest of the field, and this horse can go back 15 points and still have an edge on most of these. So it's just how invested in that number are you? I put the horse on top. I'm just not sure this is 3 to 5, or if this horse starts to tick down given that number. We'll see. Particularly, does have a decent little wet track race at Oaklawn, but the wet track race was 37 points lower. So we'll see this afternoon, though. But that last race was pretty impressive. Pure Shot in the second spot, going to draw a line through the turf try last time. The dirt starts were very good before, and this is the other Steve Asmussen, the longer part of an uncoupled entry. And Curly's Rocket in the third spot had been in the barn of Bob Baffert, moved into the barn of Al Stahl, and what a nice little optional claimer down at Oaklawn, going first out for Al. And I think has a little potential to make some noise in here under Jose Ortiz. So for me in the Chick line, 5, 3, 7, and 1.
I agree with you. Matole looks really tough at 3 to 5. I'm not so much concerned about their aggression, as we were talking about, as the sloppy track performance. You go back and watch that race, he was not the same horse at all as he was on a fast track. So we'll see if he's able to kind of switch and validate that he is a good horse on both type of surfaces here. But nonetheless, at 3 to 5 looks tough to beat. Sutash, the 9, it looks quite interesting to me. A horse that's 3 for 5 as far as wins goes, has never been off the board. It's coming off a little bit of a freshening race last time. Finished second to a nice horse in Madison's Luna in that Grade 3 Hutchinson down at Gulfstream Park. The workouts have been quite solid. We'll see if this horse likes a wet going in here, but I think it's pretty intriguing at 8 to 1. And then underneath, the number 1, Still Having Fun at 12 to 1. A nice closer in here. Last time tried stretching out in the Federico Tessio. I like the fact that this horse is coming back to sprinting, was very good, including that impressive win at Laurel Park over good surface in that stakes race. So I think at 12 to 1 is quite appealing as well. I saw it 5, 9, and 1.
And you make a good point about that sloppy race. It was a little stakes race down there and ran second. But yeah, it's an 80 buyer bookended by a couple mid-90 buyers, so it was certainly not as good a performance as this horse has run on dry surfaces. 9th at Pimlico, the Gallarette, Grade 3 event, $150,000 for the ladies, going 1 mile and a 16th on the grass.
5, 6, and 8 for me here in this race. I went Cambodia, who looks to be really well spotted in here as the defending champion. Won this race last year over a good surface here at Pimlico. Did beat Alicia's World, the number 8 horse who I have in the third spot. Looks to be the other main contender in here. And off that performance last time in the Jenny Wiley, I didn't think that was that awful of a performance. I know it was beat, a 6, beaten 4.5. But I think, off the long layoff, this horse needed a race. He's probably going to sit about 5th or 6th. That's when this horse does the best running. And I think second off the layoff should be much more fit. And already has liked the surface over the Pimlico turf course. So we'll see if he gets done at 8 to 5. Underneath the 6, Blessed Silence, a horse that's predominantly been running overseas, made the North American debut at Aqueduct against Inflexibility, who's a pretty nice horse for Chad Brown as well. I didn't think that was a bad third-place performance. And it's also worth noting that Christophe Clement are 24% with second off the bench starters. So this horse is second off the bench. 24% for Christophe Clement. You're getting 12 to 1. You're getting Rod Ortiz. And I like the fact that this horse has Euro breeding, so this horse should like an off going at 12 to 1. I'll use in the second spot, and then the number 8, Alicia's World. A horse that is won last time out very convincingly at Gulfstream Park, is coming off of a little bit of a layoff. Hasn't been seen since February, but looks to be the other solid contender here at 9 to 5. So I saw it 5, 6, and 8. What do you think?
5, 8, 3, and 6. I also put Cambodia on top. Looking back to that win in this race last year, came in with an 87 buyer, won it with a 95. Comes in this year off the 94 in the Jenny Wiley. That's a tough spot to start your season, the Grade 1 Jenny Wiley, but it won't surprise me to see this horse run well in here this afternoon, given what we saw last year. Alicia's World in the second spot. Again, she ran third in here last year and comes in good form from Gulfstream, winning the Swanee River most recently, and then Ultra Brat for me in the third spot. The races 2 and 3 back were pretty good down at Gulfstream. Also tried the Jenny Wiley last time. I think this is probably a little bit easier than that one and should rebound to more of what we were seeing down in Florida with Jose Ortiz on board this afternoon. Pimlico's 9th, the Gallaret 5, 8, 3, and 6.
The Pimlico 10th is a Grade 3 Maryland Sprint, $150,000 purse, 6 furlongs, nice 9-horse field. What'd you think?
I put Switzerland on top, 5, 9, 4, and 6. It just seems to me over the past couple of starts for Steve Asmussen, Switzerland has lived up to the promise that was kind of flirted with earlier in the career. Obviously has been knocking around some optional claimers and now gets really tested as far as that talent level. But boy, the last couple in a nice triple digit last time. Both of them were down at Oaklawn. I've already talked about that this morning. I like the horses this time of year coming out of Oaklawn. So Asmussen, Oaklawn, a couple of good performances, including a triple digit leading into this. Switzerland on top for me. Second slot, we'll go with Long Haul Bay, lightly raced runner for Chad Brown. Showed some promise early in the career as well, winning the maiden in the first career start against State Breds, New York bred, nice New York bred. Then tried the Bayshore, won that. Then tried the Woody Stevens and ran a disappointing 5th in there, laid off from that June start last year until April of this year. The comebacker, albeit against State Breds again, but it was pretty good with a pretty solid number. In fact, a lifetime best number, which seems to indicate this horse is ready to kind of validate what we saw earlier last year, and I think a good spot to re-enter stakes company for Long Haul Bay and Lewisfield in the third spot. Boy, 5 wins and 7 career starts, and this was one of those horses that you mentioned earlier, Mike, hometown hero kind of a horse, and I like these kind of horses on these big stakes days as well. You can find these kind and maybe get a little bit of value sometimes as the big guns come in, but these are proven performers on these local circuits, and we'll see what Lewisfield does in here, but with the record certainly has to be respected. 10th at Pimlico. For me, the Maryland Sprint, 5, 9, 4, and 6.
I saw it 9, 6, 5, and 8. I went with Long Haul Bay, that Chad Brown horse that last time out looked really good against State Breds and that 2 other than optional claimer. Again, stepping up against graded company, but has run quite well. Won the Bayshore in April, as you noted a little bit. The only blemish was to American Anthem the day of Belmont Stakes Day, which I didn't think was a bad performance either, finishing 5th. No one was going to catch American Anthem if anybody remembers that race. But again, second off the layoff, should be much more fit. I think Chad Brown knows he has a good one, putting him in this Grade 3 event at 2-1. I have on top, underneath, Irish Colonel, a horse that's one of those locally based horses of recent. I know you like Lewisfield. Irish Colonel, though, last time finished a nice second-place performance in an optional claimer. I think Cathal Lynch, the trainer, saw some good things from this horse, got a nice 90 buyer. Should be sitting off of the speed, which looks to be Switzerland and Lewisfield. If for some reason those horses get into a little bit of a tussle, could set up for Irish Colonel at 10-1. And then the number 5, Switzerland. Again, I think this horse just figured it out. You're right. Was highly regarded, faced the likes of Giuseppe the Great, who's a stakes winner, 8-Town, who's also a stakes sprinter, and Wonderlight and Preservationist, who are both very good horses as well. Last 2 have been really good performances. Looks to be on the speed. We'll see if he can kind of negotiate a good trip with Lewisfield wanting to lead as well. But it looks to be another one sadly in the mix. So I saw it 9, 6, 5, and 8.
Speaking of Irish Colonel, how about Irish Warcry yesterday? Who
very impressive.
And Gabby Gaudet was working Pimlico, as was our friend Ron Nicoletti and Acacia Courtney, the old Gulfstream team at Pimlico yesterday. But Gabby talked about the connections coming out and saying that last race there was an electrolyte unbalanced kind of a situation. It seems like they figured it out because the race prior you just were scratching your head. I put the horse in second just because it's one of those he could go either way, but certainly looked good yesterday.
And we were talking about in the Stakes preview. To me, he's just the hottest and coldest horse I've ever seen. He'll run a terrific race, and then he's never able to repeat it. So if you use that hot and cold theory, he was actually trending hot this time off that bad performance. So kudos to him. We'll see if he's able to actually put together back-to-back performances now.
Looked good, though, yesterday, certainly. The 11th at Pimlico today, the very one. This is a turf sprint stake, 5 furlongs on the grass for the ladies.
I saw it 11, 7, 12, and 8 in here. I like the number 11, Smiling Causeway, back-to-back victorious runs at Tampa Bay last time out, but is off of a little bit of a layoff. The workouts have been real sharp, though, down at Fairhill. And also at Arnaud Delacour, who's the trainer, 35% with first-time horses off of the layoff. So that's a good stat. I think this horse is going to be well spotted. Has versatility. Actually showed that this horse could come off the pace last time out. Notably had been showing speed predominantly. This race has some, I mean, it's a 5-furlong sprint on the turf. Should have some really fast horses in here. But there looks to be a bunch of them that are in a gun for the lead. If Smiling Causeway can sit just outside of it, I think you get run at the top of the stretch and try to mow them down late. Underneath, the number 7, Girl Knows Best. Last time out was victorious, getting a nice 101 buyer. Winning that race by 6 lengths at Keeneland over a yielding surface. So that's good to know because obviously there's going to be yielding or soft today as far as the turf course going. But off that 101 buyer, again, the bounce theory's in play. That was so much better than any other race that this horse had run. 3-1 on the morning line, just a little too short for me. We'll see if this horse can actually put back-to-back performances together at high buyers. And then the 12 horse, Just Talking, another one that showed speed last time out, was able to wire him at Gulfstream Park, steps up into this a very salty group at 9-2, I think, is another one for Jason Service that I think is a logical contender in here. So I saw 11, 7, and 12. I
put 12 on top, Just Talking. 12, 7, 11, and 1. So I'm right in the same ballpark, but I thought Just Talking, coming off some nice turf sprints down in Florida, was set up to run well. Turf sprints, I've said it many times, it is a specialty, and it just seems like Just Talking slips right into that specialty because it should be well suited with a nice outside post position. Went to Girls Know Best in the second spot, coming off that nice turf sprint at Keeneland, and Smiling Causeway in the third spot. Again, this horse hasn't missed an exacta finish in 7 career starts. Should be right in the thick of things again this afternoon. The 11th at Pimlico, 12, 7, 11, and 1. That'll lead us to our next break. We'll come back and look at the 3-year-old action, the Sir Barton and the Preakness and beyond. We'll wrap up the Pimlico card right after this. Stay tuned.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Sign up today for Capital OTB's handicapping series and plan your trip to Las Vegas.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report on this Saturday, Preakness morning, as we are up to race number 12. It's the Sir Barton restricted stakes for 3-year-olds. They're going to go on a mile and a 16th. And what do you think? It kind of centers around a couple horses in here that could be serious contenders later on in 3.
Yeah, another one where I think my top 3 kind of stand out. I will note, and you'll hear, we'll have a John Service interview coming up. I taped it yesterday in a few minutes, and he's got Diamond King in the Preakness, and in here he had Forest Fire, and I was going to talk a little bit about that horse, and he said, we're going to scratch. The horse got cast in the stall a couple of nights ago. He said the horse is fine, but just they had to give him some medication, and with the medication, they weren't going to be able to make the race. I just pulled up scratches and changes, though, on Equibase, and they don't have any scratches listed yet, which is surprising with the 10:30 post time. You would think we're close enough that they would have. So I can't confirm that, but I'm pretty sure Forest Fire will be out. But double check, obviously. 8, 11, 2, and 6 for me in here. Axeman for Bob Baffert. It's Bob Baffert coming east on one of these big days. It's a lightly raced and talented-looking 3-year-old invading from Southern California. And didn't that work out for Mr. Baffert 2 weeks ago? So I'll put Axeman on top. Second slot will go out to the number 11. That one is title ready. Steve Asmussen, runner, comes in from Oaklawn and has shown some flashes of talent. Tried Stakes Company in the last 2 down at Oaklawn. A couple of okay fourths in the Rebel and the Northern Spur. I think is going to fit okay with this bunch. And as I say, has shown some flashes of talent. Just hasn't quite put it together in Stakes Company yet. But as I say, this group looks like a good fit. Pony Up in the 3rd spot. This was a horse that was, being knocked around as potentially entering in the Preakness for Todd Pletcher. I think is going to be a good fit in one of these races that have become kind of standard on these big 3-year-old stakes days at tracks around the country, kind of the second stringer kind of a 3-year-old stake. So I think Pony Up probably well suited in here. In the Sir Barton, I have an 8, 11, 2, and 6.
I had an 8, 2, 6, and 9 in here, and again, I think it's all centered around Axeman as well. Go back and watch his race. First time out, and then last time stretching out to 2 turns. Very impressive, won that race by 8.5, got a nice 101 Bayern. And originally, before Justify even ran, because he didn't run until February, Axeman posted a 97 Bayern. They actually thought he was the horse that could potentially break that Apollo curse. Then he raced in that the San Vicente and got completely gutted at the start. They went crazy fractions and completely just stopped. And it was one of those situations where you kind of understood. And then they said, we still have something here. We'll stretch him out to 2 turns. And boy, did he pass the test. I think he's going to go on. I think he's going to make a serious statement today. And he's going to go on to race against the big boys later on in the 3-year-old division. And I think he's a serious threat to a lot of them in there, including Justify as well, if this horse can come around. Because he's a May fool. They were just kind of letting him kind of plot along, get together. To me, he's kind of like West Coast from last year. One of those horses that's going to bloom late. So I have him on top. Underneath, Pony Up, the other logical horse in here. Last time I thought was a nice performance behind My Boy Jack and Telekinesis. And again, if you're looking for one of those situations where who did he face? Faced the horse named Blended Citizen. Blended Citizen came back to win the Peter Pan. So the horse finished second, beating a neck to him in the Turfway Stakes. I think Pony Up's the second likeliest winner in here. And then the number 6, Dream Baby Dream, going out for Steve Asmussen and Ricardo Santana Jr., a horse that's 1 for 9 as far as wins goes, but it's 6 for 9 in the money. So we'll see what happens there. I saw it 8, 2, and 6.
Race 13 at Pimlico, the Grade 1 Preakness, $1.5 million. They're going to go 1 mile and 3/16 in the Preakness.
I have it 7, 3, and 5 in here. Again, it's going to be tough to beat Justify, obviously, off that performance last time out. 4 for 4. Lifetime. Again, he's passed every test that anybody's ever had a question about. I think he spotted well, got a nice post draw with the number 7. I think there's going to be potentially 1 or 2 horses that try to go with him early. If they can't get position on him, I think they're just going to let Justify go, and if that's the case, it's probably going to be game over and on to Belmont. Underneath, though, I'll go with a horse that I think could potentially round out a $35 exact in, Sporting Chance. Last time raced in the Pat Day Mile. Watch that trip. That was a really tough trip. Got bottled up around the far turn, and then they had to go 8 wide. Still was able to plot along to finish 4th. That was over the sloppy surface, so I like to see that the horse raced well over the slop. Again, he was really good at 2. Hasn't been able to transfer that form from 2 over to 3. But again, if this horse is able to figure it out, he's a little bit of a head case. I did have that weird run in the Bluegrass where he kind of darted out and interfered with Free Drop Billy. But again, at 30-1, I think this horse may be able to pick up some pieces and round out a nice exacta. And then the 5, Good Magic, the other logical horse in here for Chad Brown. I think off that second place performance last time out. We'll see if he's able to put it together. Again, 4th start off the layoff. He should be still kind of trending up in here. Wouldn't be shocked to see him run a good race as well. 7, 3, and 5 for me in the big one.
The Baffert Wayne Lucas exacta, they've been making some noise down there. I think between them they have, 12 Preakness victories? I think 6 each for those guys.
They're tied right now.
And they've been making some noise down there as a couple of guys, friends, Bob Baffert and Wayne Lucas, on the scene down there at Pimlico. I have it 7, 5, 4, and 1. I just think, it's hard to get past the first 2 finishers in the Derby. But you only have to go back to last year to see it happen. Cloud computing beats always dreaming. So you did have a new shooter get it done. But boy, Justify, just so talented. Now, if you want to hang your hat on the possibility of something going south, that was a tough race, at least early in the Derby. It's a 2-week turnaround. There was the question mark about the leg, which I completely disregard. But if you, like I say, if you're looking for chinks in the armor, maybe you can hang your hat on that. But I just think Justify seems well set today. But Good Magic, a good second in the Kentucky Derby. I think moving forward, kind of validated in the past couple of starts what we saw last year after a little bit of a head scratcher in the Fountain of Youth to start the season. But seems logical in here. For me, the one, if I was going to play around, it'll be with Diamond King. And again, we have an interview with John Service coming up shortly. But won the Federico Tessio. Caught my attention winning the Heft at the end of December at Laurel. Followed that up with an okay 3rd in the Swale. But I thought the Tessio victory was a pretty good try around 2 turns. So to me, again, one of those locally based horses, based at Parks, but has had a couple of Maryland starts. That one's interesting. I was curious, I will be curious to see what Quip can do. I think Quip is a talented runner, seems to be moving in the right direction. I just was not flattered at all by Magnum Moon, certainly, and his performance.
Right.
So.
I'm intrigued, though, with your horse Diamond King, too, because I like the locally based horses. And in the Preakness, locally based horses have done quite well. I mean, they haven't won predominantly a lot, but they've gotten in the money. And at big odds, just where do you see everybody as far as going into the first turn? Because there's going to be some horses that are used to being, on the lead or forwardly placed that are going to see that Justify's right there with them, and you don't want to be the horse that Justify's targeting, but you don't want to be off of the pace and kind of changing your role. So where do you see everybody is kind of the question.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I say, for me, I landed on Diamond King a little bit. You landed on Sporting Chance a little bit to maybe make things interesting. But I think if you go in the 3 horses we didn't talk about, I could make arguments for them. Again, if you're looking for kind of an upset or to put some value in an exotic, Lone Sailor I think is interesting off that try in the Louisiana Derby 2-back. Tenfold's interesting just because it's Winchell, it's Steve Asmussen. They tried the Arkansas Derby in only the 3rd career start, now come here. So that's just interesting. And Bravazzo for Wayne Lucas, again, showed a little bit of talent earlier this year.
And he's the Lucas trainee that's getting the most talk about. So that's why it's going to be interesting because there was some talk about Bravazzo actually going with Justify from the start. So we'll see what happens. Obviously we don't know. We can only kind of hypothesize what's going to happen going in to the starting gate. But it's going to be interesting to see going around the first turn how this all plays out, because does someone actually say, we're going to keep it low on the down low and see if we actually go with Justify and just trying to take it to them. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, for me, 7, 5, 4, and 1, though. And I will say, I'll play around. Certainly, I'll play against Justify in some of the horizontals and hope something crazy happens and blows it up. But as a racing fan, I'm rooting for Justify, just so we get a Triple Crown try in 3 weeks at Belmont, because that's always a lot of fun and great for the racing game.
Yeah, it actually looks like you and I are going down for Belmont Stakes Day, so that would be obviously what we're kind of hoping here, and everybody in the industry is hoping for that as well.
We'll get a better seat, though, if he doesn't win. It's going to be tough getting a seat on Saturday for us.
Positive. We have a Triple Crown, we have better seats.
That's right. It's a win-win either way for us, and that's all that counts. Speaking of bad news, however, our guys in the control room came out while you were talking moments ago, and I have since pulled it up, the Dave Rodman Twitter feed. This was a little under an hour ago. Update, all races are off the turf except for the Gallaret. That's not good news. But the Gallarette stays on. And again, this is according to Rodman. I would expect that Dave Rodman and his Twitter feed are probably believable. Double check.
I know they got a lot of rain overnight. I know the forecast was predominantly rain, and it was supposed to get a little bit better. And potentially at post time, it wasn't supposed to rain, but at that point, the damage was already done. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But we're on to the finale, though. It's race number 14. It's the starter allowance. $35,000 purse. And what do you think here in the finale?
9, 6, 3, and 5 for me. The number 9 is Sky Chaparral. I had to go back to some underneath numbers, but also has a couple fairly recent races that are okay on off tracks. The last number wasn't much, and that was on a muddy track. But again, I'm going back to some numbers underneath that I thought were okay. Second slot, we'll look at Iredell, the number 6 horse. Similar scenario. I'm going to draw a line through the last race. But this one, at least there's an excuse that the last was on the turf. So getting back to the dirt should provide a rebound. And then Phil's Cocktail in the third spot. As compared to my last two, this one's last race was pretty good. And it was an off-the-turf event right here at Pimlico just about 6 days ago. So I think Phil's Cocktail set up to run well. I always like those quick turnarounds. To me, it demonstrates confidence. But that it was on an off-Pimlico track, even better. So the 14th at Pimlico, 9, 6, 3, and 5.
Yeah, I saw 5, 6, and 9. If you see the chiclets at the bottom there, it says 10, but there's it's actually number 9. I went with You Got a Have Heart, winner of back-to-back victories at Penn National. I think off a little bit of a freshening. This horse is coming in quite sharp still. Could get the job done. 9 for 23 as far as win goes lifetime. Underneath the number 6, Iredell, a horse you have as well. Like that second place performance two back at Penn National. Also has a victory over a sloppy track, so you like to see that, obviously, with everything going on down at Pimlico. And then the 9 to round it out, Sky Chaparral you have on top. Couple nice races of recent, like that 82 Buyer, fits really nicely in this field. Could definitely come from off the pace and make some noise. So 5, 6, 9.
Sounds good. All right, we'll get to the John Service interview in just a second, but before we do, you're going to take off because you have to go to the other side.
Yeah, again, the first 200. Our door's going to open at 9:30. I'm going to go and set up right now. Stop by, say hi. Tell me your thoughts about who you like in the big race as well. But the first 200 here at the clubhouse will get that Preakness glass. So stop by, grab the glass, come in, make your bets, stick around if you can. But also want to mention the City Line again. We'll have the Betmobile there all day long from 11 to 8. Stop by if you're looking for another spot. It's always a great atmosphere there. Terrific each and every Triple Crown race day. We're always there. And then obviously we'll be on for you're going to be on for Racing Across America next, and we'll be on tomorrow to kind of recap everything.
Absolutely. So we'll let you go, but you'll be back in, as you say, tomorrow morning at 10. Mike, appreciate it. Good luck this afternoon.
You as well.
All right. We'll head to John Service. We'll watch that. After the John Service interview, we'll go to a break. And when we come back, Frank Vespi from the Racing Biz, who is live from Baltimore. We'll get some updates and some thoughts on the action from yesterday and today right after this. John Service. 3-year-olds in the stakes at Pimlico on Saturday afternoon. Good morning, John.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. Happy to have you on board to talk a little bit about the Sir Bart and, of course, the Preakness. And let's jump right in with the Preakness. While we talk, I'm going to pull up the stretch run of the Tessio from April 21st. Diamond King is going to be the number 6 horse. Came out of this, and obviously in years past, this has proved to be a nice prep for the local horses heading into the Preakness. But you and the Connections were entered in the Peter Pan last week, scratched out to go in Saturday afternoon's Preakness. What was the decision-making that went on to opt for the Preakness as opposed to the Peter Pan?
Well, it was an older decision. We discussed it. I thought the Peter Pan was a good spot. Mr. Zachney and I discussed it at some length, and Mr. Zachney stressed that he wanted, he really would like to run in the Preakness, and horse was doing great, so we're going to give him a shot.
Yeah, I he hit my radar screen back in December with that win in the Heft, and then followed up with a nice third in the Swale, and then the 2-turn race in the Tessio. And let me ask you about that. A couple of 2-turn races, and you got to draw a line through the Kentucky Jockey Club. Obviously lost the jockey that day, but the 2-turn race in the Tessio, the nice win that we just saw there. Did that answer 2-turn question marks for you, or is that still maybe a little bit of a question mark with the 1 3/16 on Saturday?
No, that answered everything for me. I mean, I always thought that he'd be a better two-turn horse. He certainly has the pedigree for it. And, you know, the big thing when we first got him, Frankie had stressed it. I asked Frankie Pennington about him, you know, stretching out. And he said, I think he will eventually, John. You just got to get him to start settling. He just doesn't want to settle, and that's what got me in trouble in Kentucky in the Jockey Club. So, you know, we started trying to get him to settle, and he's come around, and obviously in the test, you know, he settled great and handled the 2 turns with no problem. So.
He's been with you at Parks working, and I see the workout on May 13th was in the slop. Give me some thoughts on the track condition for this weekend, how he's going to handle the off-going.
I mean, he worked really good over it. You know, I'm not big on working horses in the mud or the slop, but it was a situation where if we were going to run in the Preakness, it needed to be done. So we went ahead and did it, and he worked great. He galloped out good. He seemed to handle it fine, and you know, we'll just see how he does on race day. You never know till you lead him over there what kind of track it's going to be. But like I said, he worked good in it.
What are your expectations for Saturday afternoon?
You know, my horse is doing great. It's a tough task. I'd be very happy if he hits the board.
All right, and coming out of the Tessio, obviously that was win number 4 and only career start number 6, so career start number 7. I'm guessing that each race you're getting some experience and you're looking down the road and you think a player in the 3-year-old division beyond the Preakness as well, I would guess, into the summer and into the fall.
Yeah, I mean, we had mapped out a schedule for him into the fall that obviously would get a little tougher as he matured and got better. And the last race on that schedule being the PA Derby. But, you know, I mean, he's a talented horse. He's got a lot of talent. I don't know if he's ready to take on what he's up against tomorrow, but we'll see.
Good luck there. Let's go a little earlier on the card and talk about the Sir Barton, also for 3-year-olds. And you have another lightly raced 3-year-old, Forest Fire. Only 4 career starts for Forest Fire. We're going to watch the stretch run of the private terms. VIP Code will be the winner, the number 6 horse. Forest Fire will be the number 9. 3/4 of a length run second. And again, this was only the 4th career start, the first try in Stakes Company. I'm a buyer's guy, and the buyers have been moving forward in each of the 4 career starts. Given that, are you expected continued improvement on Saturday afternoon from Forest Fire?
Well, I was. Unfortunately, he got cast last night.
Oh, okay.
He got hurt, and we had to treat him, and we're going to have to scratch him. I mean, he's fine. He'll be okay. But we had to jump on him medication-wise and get him treated, and therefore I had to take him out.
What's the situation on a horse in a situation like that? How long do you sit on the sidelines, and what would be your game plan going forward?
You know, I don't think it's going to be any time at all. Unfortunately, I guess when he got down the stall and got the rolling, he rolled over and hit his head on the side of the stall. Yeah. And when he got up, he was bleeding from his nostrils. So in order to get that stopped, you know, we had to jump on him with some medication and then get something to drop his blood pressure. And he certainly can't run, you know, with the medication, much less with the injury. So
yeah,
I don't expect him to be out long. You know, he'll probably be back in training in about 3-4 days.
Understandable there, but again, I'm assuming some high hopes for him going into the future.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's a big, rangy colt, and I think he's going to get a lot better.
Just before.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, OTB TV is the Capital Region's choice for the most comprehensive and informative coverage of thoroughbred and harness racing. OTB TV is the only area network delivering a steady viewership, reaching more than 540,000 households throughout the broadcast day and into the evening. Capital OTB's digital presence also plays a tremendous part in getting your message in front of potential customers. With more and more wagering moving to online, CapitalOTB.com can put your message in front of thousands of potential customers 24 hours a day. And with the addition of our new mobile app, New customers will see your message on all their digital devices. To see how affordably you can reach thousands of new customers, contact Capital OTB's Sales and Marketing Department today.
Are your favorite tracks in Florida, but you're in upstate New York? With Capital OTB, Tampa Bay Downs and Gulfstream Park are closer than you think. With more than 60 Easy Bet and branch locations throughout the region, you're just a short drive from all the top tracks across the country and around the world. For a complete list of all Easy Bet and branch locations, visit CapitalOTB.com.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Preakness Saturday morning. We'll see if Justify can get through the second jewel and send us to New York with a chance at a Triple Crown. It all happens down at Baltimore at Pimlico, and we're happy to be joined from Baltimore. Our friend Frank Vespi. No better way to follow racing in the Mid-Atlantic area and Maryland than theracingbiz.com. Frank, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Seth. Thanks for having me on this morning. I should say greetings from, I want to say tropical Pimlico, but in point of fact, it's like 50 degrees and raining here.
And give us a little update, because we were doing the handicapping show just before we came on here, and about the middle of the handicapping show, we pulled up a tweet from Dave Rodman. It seems like everything but the Gallaret will be off the turf this afternoon. What's the weather look like right now?
Right now, I actually just walked in. I was just on the local Fox affiliate. So I just walked into Pimlico, and it's cold, raining, windy. That's supposed to continue, as I understand it, throughout the morning, and then the afternoon a little bit better. But it's still a little bit of a little bit of rain in the area. So still a lot going on weather-wise. It's really a shame, and it couldn't have been a worse week. We've had rain just every day for a week now, and so that you're going to have to consider all of that in your handicapping. And I walked across the track yesterday to go to the infield winner's circle after the Black Eyed Susan, and it's really sticky. I mean, the dirt is just you want a horse that has shown some ability to run in a really sticky, gloppy surface, because that's what it was.
Yeah, we saw some of that yesterday, certainly. Before we get to some of the recaps from yesterday's stakes action, just want to let you tout theracingbiz.com. I know I hopped on board yesterday, the Black Eyed Susan Day contest, the handicapping contest. There's another handicapping contest today as well, right?
There is, and we're also doing a thing with our partners at the Match Series, which is the new Mid-Atlantic Thoroughbred Championship Series of stakes races, where there are 25 of those races over the next 4 months, and we're doing a series-long contest where you have to play in at least 15 of the races, and 2 of them are today. So if you get in our contest today, you're going to be automatically entered in that series-long contest. So just a lot going on. We're going to have Preakness profiles of every horse in the Preakness coming up, and a good story from Teresa Gennaro is going to be up on the site later on today. So just a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I linked to a bunch of that stuff last night. You had a couple of good handicapping pages looking at the stakes action today. As you say, Teresa's article as well, but also I'll tout the free handicapping contest. I jumped in yesterday.
Nothing like free stuff, right?
Yeah, and I'll jump back in again today. I love that.
Awesome.
I'm all about the free handicapping contest. All right.
We love it.
Let's talk a little bit about yesterday, and let's start things off with the Black Eyed Susan. I talked to Jason Egan yesterday on Racing Across America. I thought it would be fun to kind of introduce him to folks who may not be familiar with him. And Good One Honey, 2 for 2 down there in your region. First 2 starts at Laurel. I thought Good One Honey had a real shot in the race. Unfortunately, she gets squeezed at the start and was really out of it right from the beginning. I was surprised by how much money she took. She was the favorite for quite a while early on, wound up to be the 4th choice, but pretty close as the top 4 were all just within a fraction of points there. But as we watch the stretch run, Frank, it will be Red Ruby, the number 4 horse, pulling away. Nice performance for Coach Rocks, who has the local connections up here with owner Roddy Valente. Indy Union runs 3rd. The horse that I liked, Sarah Street, runs 4th in here as the 5-2 favorite. I thought she was a little disappointment, and Good One Honey winds up running 5th after the poor start. But it was a nice performance by the winner, Red Ruby, for Kellen Gorder, coming up from Oaklawn most recently. Your thoughts on the Black-Eyed Susan?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it was a good performance for Red Ruby. I mean, Jason's horse, Good One Honey, she was really fretful in the paddock before the race. There was an issue, I think, a groom or a valet threw like a towel on her back, and she got all worked up, and so it kind of wasn't her day. And I actually, as you said, she got squeezed back at the break. She was wide all the way around. I actually thought she ran a really good race. I mean, she was basically head bobbing for 4th after all that. So, I mean, I think, I have talked pretty extensively to Jason and Bob Krangle, who bred and owns the horse, and obviously they're going to be disappointed, but I think they can take away that this is a horse that fits in this kind of company if on a day that's a little better for her than yesterday was. But Red Ruby's really a nice story. This is a filly. It's trained by Kellen Gorder. Kellen had the issue, I guess it's about 4 or 5 years ago now, where he had a horse come back with a positive for a methamphetamine that turned out to have been in cough medicine, a popular over-the-counter cough medication, but he got suspended. It cost him a bunch of owners. And he hadn't won a graded stake since 2013. And, this was a filly. They were pointing at the Oaks. They were going to go to the Fantasy and then the Oaks, and she got hurt, like a kind of freak shed row accident, so they had to miss those races, and they show up here, and this is his first graded stakes win since 2013, and I alone am, as Costanza would say, lord of the idiots, because I schlepped across the track to interview him in the infield winner's circle instead of waiting for him to come back. And but that was kind of neat, because I said to him, you've had quite a journey in the last few years. What's that been like? And the only word he could come up with really was huge, but he was really like picking carefully through all of his emotions. It was a really interesting moment to kind of share with a person, and he said, you're in the middle of it, you're doing what you love, and you just hope it all comes together, and it really did for this filly yesterday.
Yeah, and, that was only the 5th career start, and the way she won. Now, it may have been helped by the off-track, but certainly the races down at Oaklawn were pretty good prior, although one of those wins was on an off-track, too. But you would think with the 5th career start and a win like that, she's now a player in this 3-year-old filly division going forward as well. Coach Rocks, again, nice performance, nice second, clear second, and we were all rooting for that one here. Roddy Valente, owner, hangs out right in the front side of our, we're in the back part of the race book here in Albany with our TV studio, and Roddy's out in the front side playing the horses very often, so easy to root for them. And top of the stretch, I thought it was ding dong, somebody would pull away, turned out to be Red Ruby, but Coach Rock's a good second place finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing wrong with the effort. She's a nice horse. She's a nice filly. I had actually bumped into, I think, if I'm not mistaken, West Point owns a little piece of her, and I had bumped into Terry Finley the night before, and they were down for it, and they were excited about her. And I think she ran a good race. There's nothing wrong with what she's done to date. I mean, she's another horse who looks like she can be competitive with these kind of fillies.
I agree. All right, let's go a little earlier on the card, the Turf Sprint. Hoagie was a horse that I found interesting. I like the horse stretching out to the mile in the Canadian Turf 2-back, and off the 2-mile races was going to be interesting to see on the cut back to a bona fide Turf Sprint, but they obviously didn't like the surface. Imprimis, however, was sometimes when you scratch into a horse, you're not as enthusiastic. I was perfectly fine scratching into Imprimis as my top pick. The first 3 starts of the career just said this horse may be a little bit of a budding monster, certainly on the Turf Sprint side. And Imprimis, the number 3, turns out to be a turf monster. 4 to 5 in the scratch-reduced 5-horse field, but this was a pretty good performance.
Yeah, it was. I mean, as you said, the race scratched down to 5, which really was kind of a nightmare. And obviously, the way the race shaped up after scratches, and maybe even before scratches, really, you knew Rocket Heat was going to the lead here. It tells you how slow the course was playing, how deep and soggy it was. I mean, Rocket Heat is a horse that could go, on his big days, he could go 43 and change. The half mile went 50. So they were running as fast as they can, and they were basically at a walk in that race. And obviously Imprimis came up and won pretty easily. You know, from a handicapping perspective, it is sort of an interesting question, you know, because the horse had run well, had these big numbers, but you're always kind of going, yeah, okay, but who'd he beat, and how's that going to translate when he faces a little bit deeper waters? And, you know, Rocket Heat's a horse who's made a lot of money, won some races in his career, and Oak Bluffs is okay, you know, was second in the Gulfstream Park Turf Sprint 2 back. And so a couple of horses that are okay here, and he dealt with them pretty easily.
Yeah, as I say, bona fide player now on that Turf Sprint subdivision, which is kind of a specialty. Imprimis gets through the McKay Turf Sprint. You talked about betting, and that got me thinking, handicapping betting and the odds. I want to go back to the Preakness, to the Black Eyed Susan. Were you surprised, or was this just like local money? I said it earlier, when Good One Honey, early in the betting, wound up to be the close-up fourth choice, but early in the betting for quite a while was the favorite. I thought the horse had a chance. I didn't quite see that, but again, I guess local connections at Pimlico, maybe there was a lot of that at work.
I think there was some of that for sure, and I also think, you know, it is sort of funny you say that, because when we saw the entries, I said, okay, great, I'm going to have one of my guys, or me, I think it turned out to be me, but do a story on Good One Honey and interview the breeder, and, you know, because it's a cool story and it's a local angle, blah, blah, blah. And I figured, you know, that'll put us in a spot where other people are not, because they'll be doing, you know, Sarah Street or Red Ruby or whoever. And so, of course, there must have been a million stories on Good One Honey during the last week. So I think it's just, in part, it's just, you know, a lot of people probably read and heard things about this horse, which is sort of unusual for a horse that's just coming out of a minor stake in Maryland. And so I think it might have been a little bit of a familiarity thing, too. Just a lot of people had heard of this horse in the last few days.
Yeah, it was very funny, the early wagering. All right, love to get your take on the Pimlico Special. A little earlier on the card yesterday, grade 3 event, $300,000. I had it, when I handicapped, I put one-liner, the Pletcher horse, over Irish War Cry. I thought one-liner maybe primed to put in a big effort. He did. But when I handicapped yesterday, I said Irish War Cry on a rebound effort belongs right in here. I just wasn't sure what to do. I couldn't put the horse on top off the poor performance down at Gulfstream just prior. Well, it played out, those two, around the turn. I thought one-liner stood a good chance about the top of the stretch. One-liner is going to be the 2 horse. Irish War Cry, the 1 horse. Number 9, Untrapped, runs third. Kind of kicked myself. I didn't play the Exacta a little bit more, because the Exacta paid a decent $28 in here with the 2 horses I thought were logical. But, as I say, interested on your take and what you heard after the race, because these are essentially Mid-Atlantic connections. Irish War Cry trains over at Fair Hill for Graham Motion, the Haskell ownership. And with the performance here, they just had to be thrilled on the rebound off the dud just prior at Gulfstream.
Yeah, they really were. I mean, this is a horse that, he's a little bit of you don't know what you're getting with this horse on any given day. And as you said, I mean, he just absolutely, threw a clunker last out. And I didn't like him on top at all here, because I just felt like, show me that you're going to get back to being that good before I bet on you. But he did, they let him go. He made the lead. He controlled it fairly easily. The pace was okay, but it was not, for this kind of horse, it was not grueling. And he had plenty left. And, I think Graham Motion was really, this was a win that meant something to him. I think he was relieved and excited. They have been saying all along, and they said it yesterday again, Jose Ortiz said this, that this is a horse that in the morning he was showing them he was ready to be a big horse, and then in the afternoons he just wasn't. And, they had this issue where he had the thumps, which is an electrolyte imbalance, and they think he prefers the cooler weather, so they come back here at home to the Mid-Atlantic. And, of course, if that is the case, they got an absolute gift from the gods, because it was cool yesterday and windy and whatever. And the horse ran really well. I was disappointed personally in Something Awesome, who, the local horse with Jose Corrales, who you and I have talked about a couple of times, who had won a couple of graded stakes, had won 3 or 4 in a row, and just watching his race, he didn't like any part of that surface yesterday. He came out of the gate a little funky. He couldn't figure out where to put his feet, and he just pretty much threw it in, and Prado wrapped up on him and eased him across the wire. So I think he lives to fight another day, but that obviously had to be a disappointment for those folks too.
There's another betting surprise. I was surprised something Austin went off as the favorite. But as I sat in here doing the handicapping show yesterday during the afternoon, it seemed like there was a lot of buzz and a lot of handicappers were jumping on him. I wasn't quite as convinced. I had something awesome in the mix, but it was coming out of, a win at Charlestown and a win at Laurel. I just wasn't quite sure class-wise was stacking up maybe against the two that I put on top. But certainly, again, the betting public, and I guess, as you say, a local horse as well took the action, disappointed. Running last, as you say, in the field, did something awesome. But I'll touch on one other note you mentioned. He was ridden by Edgar Prado. How about Prado with the 7,000th career win the other day? And it had to be disappointing to the Maryland folks and maybe to Prado to some extent too, but I guess you just have no control over that. He got the win over at Parks.
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to laugh sometimes at the way, it's like, what's the old joke about tell the gods your plans if you want a good laugh or something. But, this is a guy who obviously he made his name in Maryland, then he made it much bigger, in New York, Florida, and, everywhere big races are run. So, of course, how does he get a 7,000th win and a 12-5 never win 2 claimer at Parks? It's just the most horse racing outcome ever. And but I mean, the guy's amazing. He's going to be 51 years old. He won. He rode something awesome yesterday, but he's also ridden his last couple. He won the Grade 2, $1.2 million Charlestown Classic on him in a head bobber. I mean, the guy is winning $1 million races at 50 years old. There's not a lot of guys out there who are still doing that at that age. And as a guy who is that age, I say, right on, brother, keep it going.
That's right. That's what keeps me playing old man basketball every week. I look at Mike Smith and Edgar Prado, and I think, well, if they can do it, so can I. Unfortunately, I don't get paid as well for the $5 game of basketball that I play every Monday night.
Sorry, Seth, you're no Edgar Prado.
Exactly. And I learned that I play every Monday night, and I learn that every Tuesday morning when I have trouble getting out of bed. All right, earlier on the card, the 7th race yesterday was the Miss Preakness. I will tip my cap again to our friend Brian Nadeau, our handicapper here, was in with me yesterday doing the handicapping show in the morning. He put Happy Like a Fool as a best bet, had that one on top. I did not see Happy Like a Fool in my mix at all. That was my mistake. It is Wesley Ward. Probably should have had the horse somewhere in there. But boy, she won like a champ. Artistic Diva runs second. Buy, Sell, Hold runs third. The horse I had on top, number 9, Good Move, went off as the 8-5 favorite and disappointed, running 6th in the field of 9. But a really nice performance by, again, the Wesley Ward runner who, he sent this horse over to Europe last year, so obviously there were some high hopes and is kind of now in the 3-year-old season, proving to be a pretty good 3-year-old filly sprinter. Happy Like a Fool.
Yeah, it was her second graded win. She had won the Matron at Belmont and then run a decent 4th in the Beaumont. So, I mean, she's legit, and that was a super impressive performance. And, in fact, they went a little bit faster. They went a tick faster than the older fillies had in the ski pad, with a couple of pretty good fillies in that group, too. So that was a really good effort from that horse. And, obviously, you got to think she may be fishing in deeper waters as the year goes on. And the local sort of disappointment was Limited View scratching out, but I don't think Limited View is going to have much to say about what this filly was able to do yesterday.
And you mentioned the ski pat. This one, the ladies sprinting 6 furlongs. Scratch reduced down to a field of 5. I liked Vertical Oak. Vertical Oak gets it done for Steve Asmussen, the number 8 horse. Start with Silver and Miss Locust Point kind of ding-donged it for second and third. With Start with Silver getting it done over Miss Locust Point. Miss Locust Point, having spent a lot of time in stakes company at Laurel, was kind of one of the local hopes in there, but she ran well. Vertical Oak, however, for Asmussen just had it over this field as we're watching the stretch run, pulls away by a chart margin of 1.5 under the wire.
Yeah, I mean, she was clearly best here. I mean, Miss Locust Point, she and Miss Locust Point kind of, they decided pretty early on that that's how the race was going to be settled between the two of them, and she was clearly better than Miss Locust Point yesterday, and that was a good effort. That was also, I had mentioned the match series earlier. The Ski Pat was the first race of the match series. Also the turf sprint later on in the card, so was also part of the match series. So that was kind of exciting, and in the winner's circle afterwards, they gave out match hats, so all the guys had hats on and stuff. So kind of exciting for Mid-Atlantic folks to see this series of stakes races getting kicked off again. And I don't know if we're going to see this filly again in these races. Vertical Oak, I mean, she may be another one looking in some deeper waters, but I suspect we may see Ms. Locust Point again, since she's Jod Service trainee at Parks, and obviously she's a pretty nice filly, but really a good effort. And I was a little disappointed. I like you, like Vertical Oak going in. I didn't much like her at the odds she went off that after a 9-2 morning line, which I thought was perfectly enticing, but a little disappointed in Ms. Locust Point kind of giving up third at the end. But all in all, I mean, the story of the race was certainly Vertical Oak.
And Frank, before I let you go, a couple other things. We'll get a Preakness thought in just a moment, but I also wanted to touch on, with the Equidaily website, I'm out looking for headlines every day. And every year about this time, for at least the last 5 years or so, the headlines from the Baltimore media, the newspapers and the television shows, how long will the Preakness stay at Pimlico? It seemed to get more traction this year. What is the buzz down there as far as Pimlico holding on to the Preakness in the future?
So here's the story. I mean, Pimlico's in a holding pattern right now. There's the legislature and the Maryland Stadium Authority, have initiated this process where the Stadium Authority is doing 2 studies. They've done one. They're doing kind of the second phase of it into Pimlico, and one phase is kind of, what do you need at this place? If you're going to keep the Preakness at this site, what do you need? And then the second phase is, what would it cost to have that thing, and who would pay for it, and what would be the mechanisms that would get it paid for? And so we're in the middle of that second phase right now, and I would expect that that's going to continue for the next few months. But the thought, talking to people at the Racing Commission and others, the thought is that when the legislature reconvenes next year, they're going to have the Stadium Authority study in front of them, and they're going to be able to, make whatever decisions they're going to make. Now, I think the Maryland Jockey Club has been fairly clear that they are putting their money in Laurel, and they don't want to put money in Pimlico. So that kind of puts it on the state and the city to decide whether keeping the Preakness in Baltimore versus having it 20 miles down the road is worth, $400 or $500 million. And that's kind of the inflection point that we've reached with Pimlico. And it's the facility is a facility. You've been here. It's kind of a crazy quilt. It was put together over a long time. Pieces of it are in perfectly nice shape. Pieces of it are not. And that's kind of where we are. And so how they're, let's put it this way, if I were a betting man, and it turns out I am, I would bet that we're not going to see a ton more Preaknesses at Pimlico, but at the same time, the legislature, legislatures do things, and we don't always know what they're going to do. So I could easily be proven wrong in that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. And one place to keep up with it, theracingbiz.com. And theracingbiz.com also has some handicapping today on the Preakness. So before we let you go, Frank, we'll get some of your thoughts on the Preakness. I couldn't get past Justify. I have it Justify Good Magic. My clever thoughts in the third spot, I put Diamond King. I like that halfback in December. The Federico Tessio I thought was a good 2-turn try. Quip I didn't know what to do with, but I put him in the 4th spot. But I couldn't get past Justify or Good Magic, the top 2 out of the Derby. What are your thoughts on the Preakness?
I think what you're saying is right. I mean, look, Justify is a better horse. He's a faster horse. He's won more important races. He's won on the slop. He looks like he's probably the main speed. It's hard to get past him. You're exactly right. And, Good Magic, there's nothing wrong with what that horse has done. And as much as we're saying, one point I do want to make, Seth, is to me, the most visually impressive Derby of the last couple of years was Nyquist. I thought that was an absolute tour de force, the way he just controlled all the space around him. He let horses do whatever they wanted, and then when in his own time, he dealt with them. And I just thought that was super impressive. And I said, there's no way this horse is going to get beat at Pimlico, and he ended up third. So having said that, Justify could end up third, too. Now, it's hard to see, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Obviously, Good Magic is a major player. I like Quip a little bit. I talked to Rodolphe Brisset, the trainer, over the week, and he was saying, I wanted to go to the Derby, but the horse just was telling me no. And he said, now he's telling me yes. Now he's ready. So I think a fresh horse is a nice thing here, and I think he may run well. A little bit of a long shot that I do like is the Asmussen horse here, Tenfold. The 3 times in recent years, excluding Rachel Alexandra, in the last 21 years, 3 basically new shooters have won the Preakness, and they were all kind of lightly raced, under the radar, kind of horses that jumped up and ran big races here. He kind of fits that bill. These are high-end Hall of Fame connections. They don't show up in the Preakness because, oh boy, we like crab cakes. They show up in big races to win big races. I think this is a horse that's going to run well. If he's at his morning line of 20-1 at a nice price. Now in the early wagering he was 2-1, and I don't like him at all at 2-1.
Yeah, he should offer some value though, because Justify is going to take all the money, and Good Magic will grab some money as well. But I said on the handicapping show earlier, if you're shopping around for kind of a live long shot, I think the rest of the field all have things you can kind of hang your hat on if you're playing to beat Justify. We'll see how it plays out this afternoon, though. And I said, horizontals, I'll have some other horses on the ticket just in case something crazy happens. But as a racing fan, I root for Justify, so in 3 weeks we have a shot at a Triple Crown.
Yeah, there's nothing like the excitement of a horse leaving here with 2 legs of the Triple Crown in his pocket, and he gets 3 weeks of can he do it, the distance, who's coming. It's the best. It's what you live for in this game is that kind of energy around it. So, betting wise, I'd like to have a couple things that maybe give me a chance to make money if he loses. But as a sports fan, of course, you want to see the best athletes perform at the highest level. So, at the very least, if he doesn't win, you want him to run a big race, and you want somebody else to just jump up and run better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And certainly, again, we will hope that things moderate a little bit weather-wise as the day progresses there. Frank, I know you have a busy day ahead of you, so we'll wrap things up and let you go, but always appreciate the conversation. Again, folks can catch up with all the coverage of the Mid-Atlantic region, including all the coverage from today's stakes action at Pimlico at theracingbiz.com. Frank, again, thanks for the visit.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Seth. I'm always happy to talk with you. Thanks for having me on, and good luck today.
Thank you, and same to you. Frank Vespi from theracingbiz.com. Again, swing by and play the free handicapping contest today. Always fun and free, so take your shot on the Preakness Day card handicapping contest, theracingbiz.com. All right, let me remind you, the doors just opened, I think 9:30 here at the Clubhouse Racebook. So if you want to swing down here, first 200 folks through the door, get a Preakness commemorative glass. That's always a lot of fun. Don't forget also City Line today. The Betmobile will be there. If you want to swing by and make that your venue to watch the Preakness, you can do it and bet as well. City Line Bar and Grill here in Albany with the OTB Betmobile. Don't forget also our newest branch, Rivers Casino down in Schenectady. Stop by there as well for some Preakness Day betting action. Thanks to our friends at Woodbine for their sponsorship. Woodbine, pick, bet, and cheer on great racing north of the border. Thanks to them once again. All right, I'm going to wrap things up, but a reminder, first post at Pimlico today is 10:30, and in fact, the pregame show is going, so I'll get out and you can listen to what they have to say on today's card. I'll be back in about an hour taking a look at the early races at Pimlico, and then some more action as the afternoon progresses with OTB Live for a Saturday afternoon. We'll wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. Tomorrow we'll be back at our regular time of 10 a.m. I'll see you in about an hour, and as far as this program, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.